Welcome back to another Talent Atelier Fireside Chat. We are coming to you live from our beautiful home in Shoreditch in East London with a very special guest today. He's probably the chicest person to have walked these floors. I would say definitely chicer than us. Should have seen the state of us 2 minutes ago. We'll properly introduce her in a second, but in case you're wondering what you're doing here, I am Rachel, one half of the leadership duo behind Talent Atelier.
And I'm Jo, the other half.
To give a little toot of our own horn, in case you wonder why the hell you're here, we are the leading executive search business in marketing, creative and leadership positions within the fashion, beauty and luxury lifestyle industries. So our clients range from people like Loewe through to Beauty Pie and the Hoxton Hotel.
We love bringing brands and people to life through storytelling. I feel like the best way of describing what we do is that we're matchmakers. Everybody loves a love story.
They do, I think. I hope, anyway. So today's guest started her career working to understand how a garment was made. You really understand like the semantics of like actually putting something together at Barney's, New York, before honing her skills working for Bergdorf Goodman, and then swimming over the pond to join us here in Net-a-Porter for the online world. And most recently, you've been leading the charge at Farfetch and Browns. You now sit before us as a consultant across luxury, and am I right in thinking you sit on the board at FIT and you've got a charity position at Raise as well?
So I'm a founding member of Raise Fashion, which is a nonprofit that we founded after the George Floyd summer of 2020. And then I'm no longer, I was on the board of FIT, which I'm no longer on,
Okay.
So nice. Elizabeth von der Goltz, welcome to the Atelier for your Fireside Chat. Instagram tells us you've been travelling recently. Where have you been? You were telling us all about this just before.
I said I've been all over the place in very hot places. I said it's actually a nice reprieve to be in London. I was in Portugal last week, a week ago, in Alentejo in the countryside, and then Sagres by the water. I was in LA and Santa Barbara before that, Miami, and then New York.
I don't know how you keep track of everything and how you turn up on time. I would just be like, I'm so sorry, I'm always late. I just don't
my calendar, my phone is like, I still have to stick to that. And now I do it all by myself, which is, I know when you're used to someone else doing it for you for a long time. I was like,
do you not prefer looking after your own diary though?
I was so reliant on someone else doing it. So now I have to, the minute I book an appointment or anything, I have to put it in right away, otherwise I'll forget.
Yeah. I guess your life before this chapter was a bit more hectic and a bit more strapped down. So let's start with an elevator pitch of your career.
I mean, as Rachel had said, I started my career at Barney's New York, and it's interesting because when I was in school, I didn't know I wanted to go into fashion per se. I didn't actually know fashion was a job. I just loved, I was in art history, I was very aesthetic, but I also loved business. And I think when I finished school, and I really did not, I had no, people were trying like, what should I do? I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I think a lot of people now already have a job before they graduate lined up for them. I really had no idea. And I had this store in Hong Kong that I absolutely loved, and it was Joyce Ma. I don't know if you know Joyce Ma, but she is probably the chicest woman, I think.
Chicer than you?
She can't even level her level of taste is just enough. She's and she had brought every designer to Asia. Like she was probably the first one who brought them over. It's no longer her business now, but Joyce then was sort of my mecca growing up in Hong Kong. And when I finished school, luckily I had a friend whose sister at the time was their chief merchant. So I went to go see her, and I said, if I want to do what you do, what should I do? And she said, move to New York. So I moved to New York. I was born in New York originally, so wasn't so foreign to me. And then, of course, in New York, the only place I wanted to work was Barney's. Like that was sort of like I was like, this is my goal. I don't want to work anywhere else. And this is, the 90s, and Barney's was really in its heyday. And they discovered, they brought all the Italians, the Belgian, the Japanese also to the States. So they were really, kind of on the forefront of fashion. And so that was my first job, but it wasn't that easy. Like I moved to New York, I was temping for a long time, trying to get in at Barney's, started off in the operations department, which wasn't even on the same floor as the buying office. And just
you were in though, at least you were.
Yeah, I was doing I was a temp. Yeah. But basically I was like, I'm gonna work my butt off and obviously look stylish at the same time. And so
when the outfit on, get there, right.
So when the opportunity came up in the buying office, I interviewed and was able.
Sounds like Rachel from Friends. It really.
That's how everyone starts.
This is basically like,
It's like you got to start somewhere. Anyway, so and luckily, I was an assistant buyer for the private label, which at the time was designed by Ronald Vanderkamp, who has his own couture line now. So that was an amazing experience because that's really how I learned how to build a garment up from scratch, which I think is invaluable to my career afterwards. From there, I moved on to be a buyer for sportswear. I was probably there for about 3.5 years. And then I had I always say there's a very brief stint at Henry Bendel's, which was a really fun store. I was a designer buyer there. We were the first people to bring Rick Owens to the States, or to market, I guess, to New York. And I remember going to his apartment in West Hollywood and buying the collection there. And anyway, so that was a very
an experience.
Yeah, it was a really great time. So it was very short because what happened then was Bergdorf's, which sort of was the grand dame of New York at the time, but kind of sleepy, had new ownership and had brought in the Barney's team basically to refresh and modernize. And so they, asked me to go over. So I was only at Bendel's for about 6 months before going to Bergdorf's. And then I spent 16 to 17 years at Bergdorf's. It really was my home for so long. And, it was an amazing journey. We built a really special culture in terms of the people on the team, and we really renovated and modernized every single floor of that store and really made it kind of the destination for luxury fashion. I think, one of the top ones in the world for sure, and obviously for New York. And it was an incredible time there, and absolutely loved it. And everyone there is still, very close to me. I go to the store, I know all the sellers still. They really are my family. So it was very hard to leave, but at the time I thought, okay, I have this amazing job. I was the GMM at the time. My office was on top of the store. It overlooked Central Park. I mean, it really was a dream. Linda Fargo and Susan Homan designed my office for me. And I loved what I did. I also felt almost too comfortable for my age in what I was doing. I felt like I needed to push myself and put myself in a situation where I was learning again, nervous again, and almost like needed to kick myself in the butt a little bit at the time. So that's sort of when I said, okay, well, what's next? I think, e-commerce was really coming.
Did Bergdorf have e-commerce?
So we did. So Neiman Marcus Group, actually, Neiman's had started e-com almost before anyone else. So when I left, it was $1 billion business. And what they had done with Bergdorf's is they actually ran the site. So 2 or 3 years before I left, what we did is that we need to make Bergdorf's our site, because basically the look and feel of the product was Neiman's product, which is fine, but it doesn't represent who we are. So I spearheaded our team going down to Dallas and kind of learning the ropes and saying, okay, now we're going to take over the website, which we did in terms of the whole look and feel, all the VM, all the product, all the buying. So that was sort of what kind of got me thinking about, this is the future, and this is something that we have to know, and this is something that I want to, dive much deeper in, and also kind of work with who is sort of the forefront of this business.
How did that role at Net-a-Porter come about then?
I always say this, so it's interesting. So, and I'm someone who, I don't say things unless I mean them, so I think that time, I was like, okay, I really want to find a new job. I need to learn e-commerce. I'm going to do something global. I kind of wanted to leave America at the time because the elections weren't wonderful at that point. And I said to my husband, and we were like, okay, well, where would we go? And we both agreed on London. So it was kind of this weird conversation we had prior. And then I got these texts. I got these texts from several designer friends of mine who said, the president of Net-a-Porter would like to call you. Is it okay if we share your number? So everything really happened bizarrely in the most natural way. But I think when you, I know this sounds really cheesy, but when you say your intention or you say something out loud, I feel like if you put it out there, somehow it happens. So anyway, so that, and this is before all those books about vision boards and whatever. My friends were always like, that's just you. You just say you want to do something and somehow it just happens. I'm like, I don't know. Anyway, so again, very, very blessed and very lucky that this all happened. And for me, Net-a-Porter was, having known the team there, seen them at shows, and kind of really respected the vision that Natalie Massenet had when she launched it. And it was very fashion first, which I think for me, it's really important that I feel that where I'm working, I really believe in what they stand for, and I think that was, for me, Net-a-Porter was the place that I wanted to go. So it just, thankfully, it all worked out, and by summer of 17, I started at Net-a-Porter as a global buying director.
That's amazing.
What
else are you putting out?
Yeah.
Come on.
Next, it's solutions. So that's what I'm working on next. But anyway, yeah. So then I spent about, I think, 3+ years there.
Yeah.
Went through COVID, which was a really interesting time. And then Ruth Chapman called me and said, will you come to matches? I think they had a non-compete for a while, but she's like, we're still involved, and will you help come bring it back to life, fix it, etc. So I spent a good 18 months there. And actually, the time I had there was incredible. I think we did incredible things. We really drove Five Carlos Place. We took it international. We really elevated the product strategy, and we had this amazing high-spending client all over the world. So it was a really interesting time.
Everyone's devastated by it.
Devastated.
It was everyone's favorite place to shop, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was just that really. It was like I loved it because I loved to curate, and it was really curated.
It was really cool.
Everything. The whole experience of it was amazing.
And the team was great, and so anyway, lots of things happened there. Where the private equity that owned it, they I think over time, they kept switching CEOs, which made it really difficult to continue a strategy. And and that's sort of the last one who came in. Had a different strategy than mine, so it was time for me to kind of move on at that point. And then I took a mini break, I would say. I went back to school. So I did the advanced management program at Harvard Business School, which is something I've always wanted to do, and that was an incredible experience. And while it was actually before I even started the program, which I should have taken a longer break, but I'd met Stephanie Fair and met Jose Neves from Farfetch, and he is, he had this amazing, beautiful vision for the marketplace, luxury marketplace, and, I was seduced, and, I was like, okay, I'm coming, I'm joining, and I joined them. So I technically started before my school program, but then when I was back and forth, I was in the office, but when I was at school, I was sort of out, but they were really great about supporting that as well, which was lovely. And as you know, that was a super interesting experience, and it was great also working with the Browns team and really trying to bring that to life as well. And a lot of things happened within that business. So I left recently the beginning of March. Yeah. So
you've had a lot going on.
You've done all the business models as well. All of them.
Yeah. I think that was always my the way I always work is what's next, and I want to learn it, and so I want to go to who does it the best.
Right.
And I think now the big question is, there isn't the next per se model.
World,
yeah, exactly. But I think now it's about finding solutions. So.
We're in an adjustment period now, aren't we?
Yeah,
exactly.
Across all industries, I think they're adjusting because you just can't keep going how we've been going.
Right.
Yeah, it's quite fascinating. So I don't know if because this question we've got, let's see if we can weave into your solutions, because I think that's probably more interesting than the existing question that we have, which were about your thoughts on the blend between the physical and the digital worlds of fashion. But what's next after that? I suppose how do we move forwards in terms of attracting customers in a different way? I know you and I talked a while ago about the kind of more experiential and hospitality sector becoming integrated into that as well.
I think digital and physical are both super important and have to coexist. I think we've seen the underestimation of the return to store post-COVID. So people are really looking for experiences and looking for creations. I mean, it's super interesting. I mean, I've been traveling a lot, especially in the US. All these designers are doing these very personal trunk show selling events again and being very successful at them. And customers are really liking that sort of one-on-one, that sort of that touch point. So it's interesting just to see these things happen. At the same time, there's a lot of people that I've worked with, starting startups, and I think there's a lot of people are building community platforms of how do you sell, and build a community through other stylists or personal shoppers or through different sort of platforms that kind of bring everyone together, which is sort of, I think, sort of what's happening next. And then, when you think about luxury and you think about, brands, and you think about even multi-brand, so much of what you do is about the customer loyalty, right? And it's not about just hard sell. It's about how do you bring the customer into your community? How do they become part of your kind of family? And a lot of that is through experience. So like, you always have beauty and wellness events for them. You usually do some sort of food series because food and I think people are so into either eating well or following these famous chefs and stuff like that. So this whole idea of restaurant series, and then hospitality. I think it started with, when you think about, we started to do kind of these trips for, first it was started to be influencers to really kind of highlight your collections of the year and show a beautiful destination. And then it was like, oh, how do we bring this to our customers? And now you see, obviously some of these big luxury houses have invested in hotels in a very big way. Like Cheval Blanc with LVMH and the Belmont and the trains. And you see, in Miami, there's Fendi hotels and they're going to a Dolce hotel. So this sort of idea of bringing people into your entire lifestyle and not just, creating homeware, but having your restaurant, having your rooms, having the full decor and the whole experience. You're seeing quite a lot of that as well.
Do you think that's, do you find that interesting? Like, would you be a customer yourself of doing that, do you think?
Yeah, I think it's lifestyle. I've always said that, like, even when I was a buyer, I think, I think everyone's like, Elizabeth, you so understand the customer. And I said it's because it's a lifestyle. It's not just what are you wearing for one moment of your life. It is what does this customer do their whole lives? What are he and she do? So that's how you have to think about it. So the lifestyle part fits in because now travel, now eating, even what you read, what art you're seeing, what film, like that is all part of your consumer's life, and then therefore what do they need for everything, and that's sort of how it fits all back into that commercial
Sounds
part.
like our business pitch, doesn't it?
That's
what we say to clients.
Everything's got a red thread.
So if you were to design a brand for the future, which part of that would you start with? Because there's fashion going into hospitality, and hospitality, trying to access fashion. Where would you start?
Oh my goodness, starting a brand.
Your passions first. Where would you start?
Yeah, I think there's something, it's interesting, and I absolutely love fashion, and I'm someone who will always be, I think did Dries Van Noten say in the New York Times this weekend, it's when you're a fashion person, it's an addiction. You're just So it is something I'm in for life, but there is a point where you start to look for more purpose, and you start to look for what is your mission, and what are you trying to do? And I think it's not about just selling more stuff, so it's like, then it's about like, are we selling something that people really treasure and brings them joy, or like does it have an emotional thread to something? So I think all of those things are important. So in it is this whole experiential piece, and in it too is sustainability. I think it's about like not just making too much to put out there, but it's like, are these things lasting? Can they, do they live on in your closet forever? Can they be passed on? So something, for me, I don't think I'm going to start my own brand anytime soon, but I always think about it. If I did, it would be, you want to be special and emotional, but you want to be lasting.
Nice.
You would do the most amazing store, right? So you'd walk in and the fragrance would be in the air, and you'd sit down and have a wonderful coffee, and then you'd be purchasing some beautiful fashion, but also some homewear and everything. Yeah.
Do you remember this store called The Line in New York? Or the apartment. Sorry, the apartment.
Okay.
And Vanessa, anyway, it was a really it was that concept. You walked in and you could basically buy. It was an apartment, but you could buy everything.
Blue Mountain's a bit like that around the corner, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it still? Yeah.
That's still.
Yeah, that's still. Have you been to? Yeah, Blue Mountain School. It's like like an experiential kind of concept store.
And they have that restaurant there.
Yes.
They
have a restaurant.
Yeah, exactly.
It's no, I think the full immersive experience and just treating customers better. I think perhaps kind of hooking them in so they feel part of, like you said, about a community.
And you always meet them. Even when I moved online, it was even more important for me to meet the customer because when I was in the store, obviously, I'd walk the floor every single day. I'd talk to my sellers every single day. So I was very, I was present for trunk shows and events and stuff like that. But I think when I moved to pure play or e-commerce, I loved being, hosting customers at the shows, and I loved hosting events with the customers. So I wanted to hear from them and get their feedback, and that just helps.
You can see them emote, because you can't see that when you look at data.
And what do they look like? What do they actually
who
really?
Are they?
Who are they? What do they love? So anyway, that's always a really fun part of it.
Have you got any success stories of brands where you've actually been able to kind of change the trajectory of where they were heading and kind of just tweak them a little bit so that they've turned into something different?
Over time, a lot. Actually, it was really interesting. I would say, like, very early in my career, which is still a highlight. Valentino, which was when, it was still Mr. Valentino, but it was sort of, towards the later years, right? So, and in Bergdorf's business wasn't very big and didn't really have much of an accessory business. Let's say it was just, mostly ready to wear. And I remember thinking, like, the clothes are so beautiful and they do so well, but there was only only a runway collection twice a year. And I was like, I know we can sell more and do more if there's more. So I had gone to them and said, will you exclusively do pre-collection for us? So we get the earlier delivery, and I'm like, if it's successful, 1,000% you can roll out. Like, it doesn't have to be ours. So we used to go to Rome and go to the Atelier and work with the team there. Anyway, after that, they had 6 collections a year. So
you were like, thank you.
So anyway, so things are just like, I think it's hard because now people aren't as flexible. Designers aren't even as flexible anymore. Like back then, you could really work so closely with them. But still, there's still a lot. I've worked really closely with Peter Doe, who we launched at Net-a-Porter. I was there under the Vanguard program, and kind of seeing him through ups and downs and really growing his collection and being and really being I think so beloved by the fashion industry and customers today. And then just seeing people go through COVID, which was really tough, and just saying, okay, we have to get through. And I would say what's happened lately has been really challenging for designers. I think a lot of them who are really dependent on wholesale in the past year have lost almost 50% of their revenue, whereas they had grown their supply chain, production, teams to meet that demand, and they were in all the right stores in the world, or e-tailers in the world. So they've had to kind of adjust. So sort of I've spent quite a bit of this time off, like talking to a lot of designers and saying, okay, how do you pivot to be more direct to consumer, or how do we get through this time? Because you just have to survive through, hopefully, through the cycle
until 25.
Exactly.
That's what everyone's saying at the moment.
Yeah. So.
Nice. What's your favorite tech that you're using at the moment?
It's probably so boring because everyone does this, but I do use ChatGPT and the new AI chat too, just for like
some prompts.
Prompts, or just asking simple questions, or just like if I need to write something, I always completely change it and tweak it, but it helps just like lay a framework down.
I think so.
It's really helpful, I have to say.
What's your favourite tech that you're using at the moment?
I love learning about new tech, and I get all excited about it, and then I forget about it. Do you know what? Probably this is so boring, it's even more boring than you. The reminders on Apple, which I didn't even realise was so useful, where you can make a whole shopping list and it will allocate it into certain different areas, and also pull loads of other information in there. And now my husband and I have a shared thing, so I have all of my reminders and everything, all of my to-do lists in one place, but they're all segregated into different things because I still am like a writer and a notebook person,
right?
But I get completely overwhelmed with how many notebooks I end up with, and so I'm trying to keep it all like.
When did you learn about the Apple reminders?
TikTok.
Yeah.
We learned so much.
Literally, also like just everything on TikTok. Like just learn so much about like, and I think like this necklace. Where is it? My Marla Aron one. Where is it? She says jumbling around. It's the one with the carabiner on it. I found out about this brand, which is in New York.
We had it at Brown. So,
So, but only through TikTok.
Oh yeah.
Because
she's amazing, and you just put more on it. So you build up.
Imogen went to New York, and because to buy it from Brown's or to buy it over here with all the VAT and the duty on it was about £1 million, but to buy it from there was a lot less expensive. So Imogen went and got it.
It's really fun to like playing with everything.
But that's the power of TikTok. Like TikTok made me buy it, but like I wouldn't have known about this brand had it not been for
I've spent quite a bit of time these past few months with friends' kids.
Oh yeah.
And it's amazing how much an 11 or 12-year-old know about beauty products these days. Like I've run beauty at Bergdorf's and and I can have a full beauty conversation with a 12-year-old.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. They shouldn't be using a lot of these products because they're almost the efficacy is probably too much for their skin, but it's amazing like they can go really deep, like even in brands or like that are.
Does that mean they won't go through the awkward, terrible skin phase? Does it mean, like, because, you know, I don't know, maybe you didn't, your skin's really flawless, but I went through the, like, really
believe me, I was on erythromycin.
Yeah, so you've been,
so
maybe they won't have that. Maybe we'll have a generation of kids that don't have to go through the pain of having, like, body acne.
But the thing is, if they are going to use things that are too reactive for their skin too young, that's going to be not
break out. So Bubble is really interesting. Have you seen their products?
Which one?
Bubble?
No, I haven't.
So they're New York based, but they've now launched over here. They're just about to launch a standalone store here, actually, Bubble Skincare, and it's won loads of awards, and it's very, very, very pared back, but cool packaging.
Right.
And it's aimed at that market. I'm interested to know if that market wants to buy that, or if they want the other stuff. I don't know how they all became addicted to Drunk Elephant. Like, how did that even happen? I feel sorry for Tiffany Martinson. It's like, I know this isn't for you.
I know exactly.
If not, please don't touch it.
Yeah. But even like they know the products that are like at the really luxury prices too.
Yeah.
I have a friend's son too who's so into fragrance.
Oh, I've
that we have a joke that like he walks over to a department store in the States and they all know him at the fragrance counter.
Hey, oh my god, that's hilarious. He's like,
and I saw on TikTok, it's a thing with young boys.
Is it really?
Yeah.
They're into fragrance.
Yeah.
But you
like, and it's sophisticated ones like Tom Ford, Creed. I mean, not like serious fragrance. Yeah. And understand the notes and anyway, it's super interesting. So.
What were you into as a kid? What was your like thing? Were you into music or fashion or like making stuff or?
Gymnastics was my sport for a very long time, and I mean fashion I always loved, but I was also pretty I collected stamps. I was also pretty nerdy at the same time. So
I like that. Stamp collecting. My kids are just getting into collecting football stickers at the moment. And, they've got like because it's the what is it now?
Euros.
It's the Euros at the moment. Me knowing absolutely nothing about football, but they're like organising them all and sticking them in. I don't know anything about any of it.
But I did. My mother always told me to moisturize, but like take care of my skin from a relatively young age. I have to say. So I always did moisturize. I was into my products, but the products were. I mean, there weren't as many steps. I mean, there were like three products.
Yeah, exactly. Tone and moisturizer.
Yeah, exactly. It was like very simple.
Yeah, Clinique, that awful yellow stuff, dramatically different moisturising lotion. That was the thing.
That's good.
Well, it's not. Well, would you use it now? Sorry, Clinique. Still
cool. I would use it. Yeah.
Well, it's clean. Well, that was the clean product back then, right?
Yeah, it was. But the toner, hard work. Do we have any questions from the outside world?
I've actually got a question I'd like to ask. Because you've spoken to us, you've spoken with Lauren Sherman at the park, and I would just love to know what podcasts and like what's your main media source for the industry tea generally. Like, what do you read? What do you listen to?
Actually, I love what Lauren's doing.
Yeah,
she's so good. Just I've always loved everything she's done, and I just really like her as a person. But she's so on top of what's going on in the industry, like every little thing, every trend, every product, every writer.
Everything.
It's amazing. She's so on top of it. She answers her phone like in 2 seconds. But also, like, there isn't advertising for it. So, like, she says things so real, and I just really appreciate that because having been on the commercial side of fashion for so long, every time I read editorials or, like, reviews after shows, I'm like, did we watch the same show? I'm always shocked. So, I absolutely love what she does.
Yeah, line sheet's amazing. Yeah. When it comes in, I'm just like, brilliant. I'll read this, and it's going to take me 5 minutes, and I'll know everything.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like it's changed, and also, like, when she does the reading list.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So like that was I definitely always read the New York Times styles and Vanessa Friedman. I like How You Spend It as well, I would say. And then BOF for news, probably more than Women's Wear these days.
Okay.
And then randomly stuff just comes through, like you said, I'm not on TikTok, but it's on Instagram. But like so much stuff comes through, then I look stuff up. I'm like, oh, what just happened? And look it up. But I do read the New York Times every day. Just for my big headlines, but I probably should read something that counterbalances it because I feel like news is so one-sided these days as well.
It is,
It is. It's hard, isn't it?
And for me, I don't read about. It's really like fashion news I read about, and then it's food and travel. Like I'm obsessed with food and travel. I think those are the things that like if I still will buy Condé Nast Traveler when I'm at the airport, or get a copy when I'm at the airport. Like I still like to look at everything and like write my notes down from it and. For me, it's like Travel and Leisure, all of those, and food magazines, and following that.
Where are your favourite places in London?
I love Brat.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, Manteca.
I haven't been to Manteca.
That's near here-ish.
Yeah.
And Brat's right there, actually.
Yeah, we go to Brett all the time.
So
it's very
good.
close.
And then Endo is my favorite Japanese.
Okay.
I actually recently went to this place called the Devonshire, which is a pub. Upstairs is this restaurant. It's so good.
It's
it was
so
delicious.
The roast.
They
do roast.
Oh no, I did because I was there right after the roast, and the meal was delicious. And then Straker's is our other favorite. My husband and I go there all the time. Yeah. We absolutely love that. Actually, tonight, my father's in town, so tonight we're trying Mountain.
Oh, so good.
Oh, okay. It's by the Brat team, right?
We went to for Christmas for last year.
It's so delicious, and it's really cool as well. We were sat downstairs, and because it was really wintry, it was so cozy, like wooden walls, feels like a listening bar type vibe. Yeah. And then the service is really, it's really attentive but relaxed, and
I'm very excited for that.
It's delicious.
And then I'm very lucky. So I live in Marylebone, and I have the Chiltern, which is literally my watering hole for everything. And then the Royal China Club, which is the kind of the smaller kind of elevated Royal China, has the best dim sum.
Yeah,
oh my god, it's like the best dim sum. I go most Sundays if I'm home.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's really good Chinese. So
that's great.
Yeah,
we have to go there.
It's like a raffle ticket Chinese dim sum vibes. Ooh. Lazy Susan's in it.
No, so that's the one. So there's two on Baker Street. Yeah.
Oh, it's
so the one with the bigger one is that one, but I go to the smaller one.
The smaller one.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Because I moved here and everyone from Hong Kong, like all of a sudden everyone from Hong Kong was this one. I was like, oh, I'm so lucky it's in my neighborhood.
Yeah, it's right there.
Yeah.
Right. I need to get to that one.
It's very good. And I actually went to Gymkhana. I don't know why I had never gone since I've been here.
Oh, Gymkhana.
Went to Gymkhana recently and it was delicious.
Yeah?
Yeah, delicious.
Awesome. Do we have any other questions?
Not at this stage.
What does the future hold for you? Are you staying in London? Are you moving? What are you going to do?
That's a $1 million question. We're really not sure yet. I'd love to stay in London because I absolutely love living here. Right now I'm kind of in this space of giving myself time before making any big next decision. But what I really want to do next has to be in the space of like, what is the consumer looking for now? And how do they want to shop? And how do they want to, so, it's either in a new platform that's curating and doing something for them in a different way, that's new and fresh, or there's tech solutions and how to, create, manage inventory better and drive more profitability for a lot of the brands and the e-commerce and multi-brand retailers. Something in this space is sort of where my head is at right now. And meanwhile, I've been, doing more work with Raise Fashion, the nonprofit that we have that really, it's basically pro bono advisory for BIPOC designers and creatives. So that's been really great. We've had the masterclass going on this summer.
Yeah.
And then, we talked about this earlier before we went on, but Intro is this app that when it was founded, they reached out to me because it was all about like how you can be successful if you just get 15 minutes with someone that you've always wanted to talk to, right? And that's how it started. And I didn't have any time when they reached out to me first because that was several years ago. And then when this spring, I was like, I have time to do this. And it's in 15-minute increments. And anyone can book you when you just say when your slots are open. And it's been actually really fun and really great doing that.
How do you get to the point within that 15 minutes outside of the, hi, how are you? Yeah, I'm fine.
Well, they have to when they book you, they have to send you so I send them what they should really be ready with, and they kind of should send you like, whether it's their website, anything about them that you should know, and the questions that you want them to answer. Yeah. And then you can also do longer than 15 minutes as well, but you have to really...
You're in good company on that.
You've got to be fast.
I think it's, I can't remember what the website is now. Is it like Get Intro or something?
No, it's Intro, yeah,
just Intro. Just Intro, yeah.
And it's really, my thing is, if you know what you're asking, it can be very fast. The ones that kind of go on is when people actually don't have focus on their business, and that becomes harder. But the people who literally, they just have several questions and it's like boom, 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 and they're like, thank you, and they're like, if I need you again, I'll call again.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I know. We were having a look to see who was on there earlier, and
it's like founders of a lot.
Rachel
It's a lot of the founders of Honest, a lot of
MySpace and
all exactly, and a lot of entrepreneurs. Then anything, and then it's like by industry. So
I love it. Yeah. So you're doing that, and then so the future depends on what you're putting out into the universe at the moment. I love this.
Well, I was telling Imogen earlier too. So when I was at HBS, we had this executive coach, and I've had one briefly before, but I never really kind of decided to really do that. So actually, what I've done now in my time off is I have an executive coach. I had like a 4-month program with her,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why I said I'm going to promise myself like nothing in this time, but like just before making decisions.
Yeah.
And with her, it was really working backwards from goals. So it was saying my goals are to be how do I want to live, what do I want to do, what's my purpose,
Mm-hmm.
and then working with her to get that down. And then when I have that, it's everything you do going forward should be aligned to my like what I want to do and my purpose.
Yeah, and you coming home every day and your husband's like, I know, yeah, all right. And you're like, my coach told me that I know. Yeah.
So that's been actually really great.
Yeah. I mean, you've achieved so much in your career. You've literally gone like, so it must be quite weird to be like, okay, now I have to really think about, because anything you do next, like you.
Yeah, it has to
like
feel
the
it
real-
just has to feel meaningful. I think you hit this point in your life. I turned 51 a week ago.
Which is ridiculous.
So
Like,
yeah,
how are you anywhere near that? Like,
and you know, you just you're like, okay, this is the second half of my life. Like I need to live
when
it.
you told me
in a way
that
I
when we had
live.
coffee the other day, I was like, what have you actually done? Awful, I shouldn't say that, but you were literally like, no, it's just
Nothing.
skin
And I have
weird jeans.
an amazing, Fatma Shaheen from Skin Design London. She's phenomenal. She's the best facialist I've ever worked with in my life, and I use all her products. So for like 3 years now. So she's really, and we always say, I'm not going to get any injections or fillers. Maybe I'll do a facelift when I'm 60. But she's like, okay, just work with me. I'll stick with you, and I'll make sure like you always look good. So
Yeah, well, it's working.
It's working.
I know.
Brilliant.
It's
Well done.
absolutely yeah. Amazing. Okay, cool. I think we should probably wrap up there. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you like coming in and having a chat with us, and I think our audience will as well, because your insights and just your experience is just phenomenal, and also just your positivity. You're just beaming with it, which is just really. Maybe that might be the holidays. So thank you for our audience and our also team here, who have all swapped outfits so that I wasn't wearing something ridiculous. If you enjoy this content, then obviously please give us a like and a follow. We're also on TikTok at Talent Atelier and Instagram. We have a very big presence on LinkedIn and a newsletter, which we've just started curating once a month as well. And then we have a back catalogue of the original Atelier podcast, which is also on Spotify and Apple, which will be in the show notes below. And we'll also put in the show notes about all of your recommendations.
All the restaurant recommendations. Definitely.
All the restaurant recommendations. Yeah, okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Elizabeth.
Thank you for having me.
Thank
It
you
was
so
really fun.
much.